Okay.
Ah.
And when we get to questions, if you do not want to be recorded, you can just ask us to pause and we can pause the recording. So
Before I get going, I just want to be clear. The question and answer period is about how long?
generally, we try to wrap up at around 4:10. So that gives you about 30 minutes, depending on how long you talk.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And
Okay.
thank you, everybody. I'm going to talk about a Kongan that appears in the Muman Kwan collection of Kongans. There are 48 Kongans in the Muman Kwan, and this is the 9th case. And I like this Kongan because in a very concise way, it includes much of our teaching style and also our orientation to practice. The title of the Kongan is De Tong Ji Sung. And if you translate loosely, De Tong Ji Sung, which is Sino-Korean, you get something like wonderful wisdom that pervades the universe. But if you look at the individual characters, De means great, and Tong means penetrating. We sometimes say in Zen lingo, to completely see through. So to completely see through is to penetrate something, and to completely penetrate is to become totally at one with something. Great penetrating, you could say through and through wisdom or supreme wisdom. And what is supreme wisdom that is completely seen through? That everything is not self-sufficient and standing on its own, but is in relationship to everything else. So wisdom is to see the emptiness of self-sufficiency and the relationship of everything to everything else, which is the expression of compassion in our practice. The Kongan itself, I'll read the Kongan. It says, a monk asked Zen master Hongyang, De Tong Ji Sung Buddha sat Zen for 10 kalpas in a meditation hall. True Dharma did not appear, so he did not attain Buddhahood. Why? And Zen master said, good question. But the monk persisted, and he said, already he sat in the meditation hall. Why did he not attain Buddhahood? And Zen master Hyungyang said, because he would not become Buddha. Okay, so the story that the monk is referencing here comes from a chapter in the Lotus Sutra, where this particular, you could say, ahistorical or mythological Buddha is talked about. And it says that eons and eons and eons, the word used here is kalpa, but we can translate it as eons, a great infinite length of time. So many, many eons ago, the story says in the Lotus Sutra, there was a king who had 16 sons, and he was aspiring to the Dharma, and so he renounced his kingship and he practiced sitting at the Bodhi seat for 10 eons. That's so long you can't even imagine. But according to the story in the Lotus Sutra, even though he sat for 10 kalpas, true Dharma did not appear and he did not become Buddha. Then the Lotus Sutra version goes on and he says he then reaffirmed his determination to practice, and he sat again for a long, long time, and finally he attained and then became a great teaching Buddha in the world. So here the monk is quoting part of this, and he says, Daitong Jisung Buddha sat Zen for 10 kalpas in a meditation hall. True Dharma did not appear. So in the Heart Sutra, it says, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. So true dharma never appears and never disappears. This is the heart of our teaching. And so true dharma did not appear. And he did not attain Buddhahood. Zen Master Sung San's last book, the title of it is called Wanting Enlightenment is a Big Mistake. So this is akin to true Dharma did not appear and he did not attain Buddhahood. And the monk asks, why? He has a puzzlement about this. If he practiced so strongly and so assiduously for so long, why did he not attain? And the Zen master just responds, good question. But the monk doesn't get what the Zen master is pointing at when he says, good question. And so he persists and says, already he sat for a long time. Why did he not attain Buddhahood? And Zen master responds, because he would not become Buddha. So we have a teaching that appears in Zen Master Sung San's Compass of Zen. The title of this teaching is Just Seeing is Buddha Nature. And when students begin coming for interviews, it's one of the teachings that we use in the beginning of interviews. And in this teaching, Just Seeing is Buddha Nature, it says, one by one, each thing is complete. One by one, each thing has it. It is already apparent in all things. So without cultivation, you are already complete. So the truth is already apparent in all things, according to our teaching. And so even without cultivation, even before you sit down and practice 1 millisecond of meditation, fundamentally, you are already complete. So the Zen master here says, because he would not become Buddha. So we could say, can completeness become more complete? Can water become more wet than it already is? Can Buddha become Buddha? Our teaching says that from the very beginning, all things have Buddha nature, and all things are expressing themselves as Buddha nature. So you could say our practice is about, as the Heart Sutra says, no attainment with nothing to attain. But Zen Master Sun San used to say sometimes, you must attain no attainment with nothing to attain. So this brings us to the point of practice, because all of this is, you could say, a good idea Zen. It points the way, but some kind of practice to attain non-attainment with nothing to attain is necessary. And the direction of practice is in the Zen master's response in the Kwang. The monk very urgently says, Daitong Jisung Buddha sat Zen for 10 kalpas, but true Dharma did not appear and he did not become Buddha. Why? And the Zen master responds, good question. So our practice is that, good question. Not good answer, but good question. You could say that our practice is not going to give us anything except perhaps a recognition of what we already have as our innate self. One Zen master, one Korean Zen master said, at the moment that you have a complete question, just complete don't know, at that moment you've already hit the nail on the head. So our practice proceeds from good question and cultivating good question and looking with a questioning eye towards what is this moment by moment in whatever we encounter, both within ourselves and in the world of relationship. So I think I've said enough for the moment. Does anyone have a good question? Thank you. Yeah.
Sometimes when I ask the question, what is this? My mind will start running and racing with ideas, trying to sort of capture what this is. And it usually becomes sort of maybe a philosophical or a spiritual nature, asking sort of it's not just labels and ideas, but it is labels and ideas, but different types of labels and ideas. But I know that that's not the point of the question and inquiry. But I practice without asking those questions, but I would love to find a way to incorporate those questions more without trying to sort of answer questions like, what is this? And reflecting on the nature of reality and trying to sort of put it all together like a puzzle.
Yeah, the words of the question are not important. What's important is the feeling of inquiry, of looking penetratingly in a relaxed way at what is your experience moment by moment. So whether you're asking in a structured way some question or not, the core of our practice is this questioning, this looking, this just seeing. And of course, if you do what you were saying, after a while, you'll expend all that. You'll get tired of it, and there'll be a moment of just putting it all down. Then there'll probably be a feeling of relief.
Can I have one follow-up question to that, which is, I've heard a lot of people talk about letting things be. Paul Mychek talks about we have an attitude of non-interference, and it's not the first time I've heard that. In my actual practice, sometimes I notice there is that time, that moment of release, and then there's thinking that comes back, and sometimes I get a little confused about how to interact with that thinking. Sometimes I'll withdraw from it and sort of, I don't know, like kind of, maybe you can call it putting it down. And other times I sort of, I think I get confused thinking I'm supposed to let it go and let it be there, and that my withdrawal is some type of interference.
Yeah, your withdrawal is a defense, you could say.
Yeah.
You're pulling back. So you're doing something to get away from something. That's a subtle act of aversion. But essentially, you just want to let things be as they are. Zen Master Sungsan used to sometimes say, don't be bothered by your thinking. Thinking is a natural human experience. If you sit down and just open yourself to the moment, of course, various kinds of thinking will appear. That's the nature of our minds. So don't be bothered by that. Don't try to hold on to any particular state of mind. Also, don't try to push away those things, or don't try to withdraw from those things. Just be there and let everything come and go as it does.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Beata has a question, and Idan, can
Someone else?
Do you still practice yoga?
Yeah. Why do you ask?
I practice yoga,
Yeah.
and sometimes I agree and I disagree with your point about the importance of I can't remember the phrase, nothing to attain.
Mhm.
So something that goes along like that.
The Heart Sutra says no attainment with nothing to attain. That's speaking from the essential point of view.
Okay. I consider yoga, I suppose, a leg up. It helps
say it again.
me to keep,
Wait, your sound got funny here.
I'm not making, it's just a shit phrase I created. It helps me to create. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no,
Nope.
your sound is breaking up.
Can you?
Abby, if you want, if you have a particular question, you can put it in the chat, since you're breaking up a lot.
So
Okay.
maybe someone else should raise a question while he puts his question in the chat, and then we'll come back to him.
I turned off my video. Are you able to hear me better now?
Yeah, yes.
I'm in the middle of a creek. I guess not the best spot to do a Zoom call, but it works a little bit. What I was saying about yoga is it helps me to calm down. It helps me to attain skillful states of mind to keep a don't know. Otherwise, I'm just absolutely miserable. And that's just been my wholehearted experience.
Yeah, so that means that yoga practice for you is a helpful aid to finding your center and true being.
Mm-hmm. So is bowing. When you said no attainment with nothing to attain, I thought, wow, that's how I feel when I bow. After about 30 minutes of bowing, everything is just so easy. Versus if I'm sitting, I find my energy just circling through over and over again, and a lot of thinking and analysis. And bowing just helps me to put it down, and then throughout the day, I feel like I'm internally bowing at every moment.
So
So I
then you
guess
found
exactly
something that's
what
quite
you just said
useful for
before,
you
so
in
thank you.
practice. So
Can you thank you.
If you have the mind of bowing throughout the day, then that's practice. That is no attainment with nothing to attain. Bowing is sometimes traditionally is referred to as the small repentance ritual. And repentance means essentially to turn back towards our true being. So in bowing, we put our head on the floor and put down various impediments over and over and over again and become clear. So that's the act of true repentance. In the temple rules that are in the back of the chanting book, it says, connected with bowing practice, it has three short paragraphs. The first one says, understand that you've made bad karma, which is like a big mountain. Keep that in mind as you bow in repentance. So that's the first paragraph, that you've made negative karma, which is like a big mountain sitting on you. Keep that in mind as you bow and put down over and over again your impediments or hindrances. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. It then says our karma comes from our mind, and when we perceive that our mind and our karma are both essentially empty, that is termed the true repentance. So this idea of bad karma, which is like a huge mountain, essentially is not something substantial. So keep that in mind as you bow in repentance. That is termed the true repentance. And then the third paragraph says, we bow to see true nature and help others. So bowing practice, sitting practice, chanting practice, whatever it is we do, is directed towards seeing true nature and helping others. That's the direction of our practice. Someone else? Yeah.
Is it possible to backslide?
Of course, every minute. Why that question?
You know, we talk about no attainment, nothing to attain, and just try for 10,000 years. But sometimes I just can't help feeling that I'm a wuss.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I turn up and I keep practicing, but sometimes I feel like such a wuss because it's not like I'm getting any younger.
Mhm.
And I feel terribly unhelpful.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Let's define wuss the way you're using the term.
there's an awareness of being very helpless in the sense that sometimes you can perceive a problem, you know, that needs to be, that you think you could help with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find when you attempt it with what you feel is, you know, just especially with people you've known for a long time, you have some sense of what your life situation is. And yet it turns out that it's not helping.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me very sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so all I find myself doing is sitting with that sadness,
Yeah.
but still not being able to help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like a wuss.
I would say one of the elements of practice is humility. And when you encounter a situation where you can't help, as you say, you come up against your limitation, and it points to a certain feeling of recognition of part of the attitude of practice is humility. The other side of it would be confidence, or again, picking yourself up and trying again, as you said. But certainly humility is there, and the sadness you feel at that moment is not just your sadness. That's part of, you could say, universal sadness, and sadness for the situation or the person that you're trying to help and not being able to. So that is your offering at that moment. The way I see it is your sadness. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
I might be misconstruing what you said. I missed your preface to how on the back of the chanting book, there's 3 paragraphs about how bowing is a great repentance. But okay, just to cut the bullshit out, I'm like, my neurotic brain is latching on to what you said, that like, you know, when you bow, you do it because, you know, you have bad karma, and it's your mind that's creating the bad karma, and you want to put that all down. And it didn't entirely make sense to me.
So that's good. So if it doesn't make sense to you, then only keep that in mind and just bow. Okay. All that I said is all just empty words. Just bow. Don't make something out of it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. One of Zen Master Sung San's short teaching phrases was, don't make anything, don't hold anything, don't attach to anything. So, but I would say there's a prior step to the don't make anything, which is recognizing that we're always making something. We're always constructing some idea in our mind. We're always latching onto some idea and following it. So to perceive that, to begin to see that more clearly, is to not hold it so tightly. To make something is natural as long as you are not gripping it tightly. So don't make anything. That's important. But more important is don't hold it. Don't attach to it. There's a book by a Japanese Roshi, Uchiyama Roshi. The title of the book is Opening the Hand of Thought. Okay. If you're making and holding and attaching, it's like this. But if you perceive that and let go, then you open the hand of thought. Then there's wider space and openness. And at least the possibility of being compassionate both to yourself and to others. Someone else?
Go ahead, Tim.
My question, at our Zen Center, we get lots of different kinds of people coming and going.
Yeah.
And very sincere.
Mm.
There is sometimes a layer of mental instability or emotional problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll start to practice and it amplifies their mental illness or their emotional problems. So is there a broad template or line to show them, to say, so that they can determine, oh, now I should start therapy and maybe stop meditation?
Or combine the two together, because meditation is not necessarily a cure-all for everything. If you broke your arm, you wouldn't sit and meditate and think that your meditation was going to fix your arm. You go to the doctor and have them set it and maybe put it in a cast for a while. I think there's a place for meditation, even with people that have serious emotional difficulties, sometimes the settling down aspect of meditation can be quite helpful. But along with that, some people may need to look at very specific places where they're caught or where they're holding in particular ways that are not going to be dealt with in that kind of pointed way with just meditation practice. So I think that, you know, that's important. And if you're a senior student, you know, like if you're a senior Dharma teacher and you're giving interviews or, you know, even sometimes informally talking to students after practice, you can, you know, point to that. I wouldn't tell someone directly, you need to be in therapy. I don't think I've ever done that in an interview. But to point to the fact that there are ways that they are holding something and are caught by something that need very specific kinds of intervention, you know, can be helpful. So, you know, it's something like, if you think about, to use an analogy, body problems. If you practice something like Tai Chi or yoga postures and yoga breathing, you could say that in many instances, those kind of practices will act as a general tonic to well-being and, you know, help you to open up your energetic system in ways that, you know, are maybe loosening certain knots or blockages. But if you're caught in very specific ways, you may need to go to an acupuncturist rather than just practicing Tai Chi on your own or in a group. You know, and the acupuncturist will very pointedly find where is the blockage here and how is it interfacing with other things, and you know, put needles in various places in a pointed way to try to correct that. And of course, one treatment of acupuncture is not going to do much. It's, you know, something that has to be repeated over. So I think also with emotional difficulties, sometimes meditation on the one hand can be helpful, and a certain pointed approach in the relationship between a therapist or counselor and the particular person can also be helpful. So one does not preclude the other. You know, and for some people, let's say something like open kind of meditation with just keeping don't know in a questioning attitude, that is not the best medicine for them. Maybe mantra practice is more effective, or as this person before was saying, bowing practice helps me a lot. So you know, various tools are available, I would say. Okay.
We have time for one more question if anybody wants to finish up. Go ahead.
Great to see. Oh,
This
Matt,
is
Matt,
no,
sorry.
no.
go ahead,
Go.
Matt.
I wanted to say it's great to see Master again, and I wanted to say sorry. I forgot your Kwang you gave me on the retreat in St. Petersburg, city of Russia in 2016. And I forgot. Thank you for your teaching.
You're welcome.
Eileen, did you have?
I've often heard this injunction about people who want to do solo retreats.
Yeah.
So when you go for a 100-day retreat, you either get enlightenment or you go crazy or you die.
Uh-huh.
Could you please talk about the go crazy part?
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, I have never done a 100-day retreat. So I cannot speak from experience about doing a 100-day retreat. I've only done shorter retreats, a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, because my schedule, working and having a family did not allow for that kind of practice. So I can't speak from experience, but that's one of those sayings that is there as a admonition, and it may be, for some people that may be an exaggerated statement, and just telling them to, be serious on your retreat, but don't force anything. Give some space, I remember one time Zen Master Subong was leading the Kyolche up at Providence Zen Center, and he talked with Zen Master Sung-san, and he wanted to kind of make it enforce some kind of stringent practice. And Zen Master Sung-san told him, if you have 90 days, don't enforce that kind of stringent practice. The practice itself, day in, day out, for that long a period of time, is itself adequate. Just leave some space and take an attitude of easiness but seriousness. But any length retreat, I would say is the same. Take an attitude of seriousness, but also at ease, and don't try to force anything. If you try to force anything, you'll get what sometimes we call energy up, and that's not helpful to practice. Easy does it is the maxim. Okay, whether it's 100 days or 1 day or 1 week or 1 month, whatever it is, and there's nothing particularly magical about 100 days, but certainly that's an extensive length of time, and will act as a mirror to see various aspects of your mind appear. So just take an easy attitude towards whatever is coming up. Okay. All right. Thank you all for listening. And I don't know whether you have some announcements you want to make at this point.
Just a couple, just to reiterate, tomorrow, Paul Park will be doing interviews, both live and via Zoom, whichever format works for you best. And then next week, we will be having a retreat on Saturday, so we won't have garden practice, and we won't have a Zoom talk, but we will have a 1-day retreat with Carlos Montero, which will run probably till around 5 o'clock and start fairly early in the morning. So, and please RSVP to that retreat if you plan on coming. I believe Adon will probably send out the schedule and an email Tuesday or Wednesday as a reminder as well. So thank you, Richard, for your wisdom and your talk.
You're welcome.
And look forward to meeting you in person someday.
Okay.
Thank
you for inviting me.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Richard.
Bye.
Thank you.